All right,
Okay.
Tony, what's going on? What's your take?
MAGA movement is fascist. I mean, I've heard that a lot, but I've also heard the other side too. That, say, for example, Obama was a communist, etc. And from um, there, you can accuse somebody of being like anything, but I think people throw around these terms because they're afraid of some kind of end. And so when you're saying that MAGA is a fascist movement, you're saying it, I believe, because you guys are fearing some kind of end. And so, what's this end that you guys are worried about?
No, I wouldn't say that necessarily. I'm not concerned. There's not an end that I'm concerned about. I don't know how this will manifest itself into whatever it becomes, but it's very clearly signifying signs of far right fanatical fascism. So I don't think that there's an end. I don't think that Trump is a Hitler. I think he's more of a Mussolini figure. But yeah, I don't think that. I agree that fascism, communism, socialist they're thrown around pretty regularly as pejoratives. I'm not using it as a pejorative in this instance. I'm using it as a literal defining uh, a literal way to define the right.
What characteristics are you looking at MAGA to define it as fascist?
Yeah, so there's different traits depending on who you would ask, but some of the main commonalities would be a return to national greatness or a want to return to national greatness, a hyperized national myth, I believe ultranationalism, an obsession with national security, scapegoating of a marginalized group as the root of the country's problems, uh, extreme conservative and traditionalist beliefs, um, anti-feminism, anti-arts and intellectualism, and yeah, those are some of the things.
So a lot of what I'm hearing is around nationalism. So you have a problem with the problem or concerns around nationalism?
I mean, it's not just nationalism. It's ultranationalism. Like
Okay.
Bernie Sanders had a degree of nationalism in him, but that nationalism didn't undermine the way that we treat other countries or the bad things that happen in other countries.
Okay.
Like jobs
So
for Americans, right? Yeah.
yeah, isn't that so? It is how much? How do you really measure that versus, for example, a difference of opinion? Because for a lot of people, they would put their like that's what MAGA is about, like the America First movement, right? Like so we put America first
Well,
before we put
Well, that's
in
what
anything
they
name
else.
only.
claim. They claim
That's what
that.
they claim, but that's what their
Yeah.
intention is, right? That's really what they want. So
No,
like
they claim that it's not America only. They claim America
America
only or America
first,
first. Well, they claim
right?
America first, but it's America only, right? But it's
America
also
first.
not just America only. It's white America only or traditional America only.
I mean, if that's true, then in the national convention they had a lot of other non-white people on stage, and in fact, like in the White House, they would
Right.
celebrate like all
Every
these like different
right that
groups, right?
yep, that's so that they can have people to tokenize to say look. But if you look at the Republican
Yeah.
Party, overwhelmingly it is white. And by the way, the belief system among Republicans inherently favors white people
Republicans inherit like overwhelmingly favor white people, and why do you think that is?
Given the policies they
because they're
uphold.
inherent. Yeah.
And
Wait,
you're
Are you
Asian,
asking me
right?
why?
Is
I am
that
Asian.
is that
Yeah,
correct? Okay.
yeah.
So we can understand that there are certain disparities that do exist along racial lines and the types of policies that would more in a way benefit or harm certain people based on their ethnicity. For example, environmental policy. You may not think of this, but that has racial biases towards it in the extent of where people live, where people of different backgrounds are predominantly concentrated, are more so likely to be impacted by deregulatory policies versus those who are in more affluent, more white neighborhoods on this scale here. So, in multiple facets of our society, the types of policies that they push for, the types of cuts they push for, disproportionately harm people of color.
Yeah, but isn't that just a case of just poor people? I mean, what happened to what was that thing that happened with like water?
Why
I
are they
want to say
poor? Wait, but why are they poor?
a big. There's a very reasons why they're poor, but they're also white. Like for example, and the big example I
But
was going to
who
bring up,
disproportionately so people of color are those most likely to be impacted on the scale of poverty.
which
Those
people
who
of
live
color? What
below.
about Asians like me or like brown people? Like Like,
I'm referring to brown people.
okay, but like from India.
I'm referring to brown people
I
in
know, but they
general.
make up the
Poverty
highest.
impacts people of color at
But
a
they
greater
make the
degree and a
highest
greater rate
income.
than it does white people.
But they make the highest household income of all races in America. Same thing with Asians.
So that what does
We're
that
higher than
dispute?
white people.
Does that dispute the segregatory policies that do still exist and persist within our society? No, it
No,
doesn't.
but
So
that
you to
does
say
but
for
that
you to point to
dismantles your
people who
argument,
do,
though.
it doesn't though, because that still upholds a system of disparities along racial lines, along poverty lines, of which in many
Poverty lines, yeah,
cases,
poverty
right,
lines.
in
I
which in
agree.
many cases people of color are likely to fall below that buck.
Yes, but some of them are white. It probably if you just said poverty line, I
Most
would
of them
accept that.
aren't.
But what about that case? I want to say Flint, Michigan. I'm not quite sure what the brown water issue was, like all
It's a
white
good
people
example, yes, of a Republican governor supporting environmental deregulatory policies in a
in a
predominantly
white
black
town.
neighborhood. No,
But
it
it
was
was in a white
predominantly
town.
black. Flint is predominantly black.
I don't think it was Flint though, because I think that's a
It
Michael
was,
Moore.
you said Michigan. That's Flint,
No, I
Michigan
know,
with the
but
dirty water.
that's why I said I want to say it, but I don't think that's the right one.
It is Flint. How old are you?
I'm 41.
You don't know about Flint, Michigan?
I know a lot of things. It's a big world. I'm not a news junkie.
Well, you should know about that. I think that's one of the
Know about
most
that.
I
I
mean,
mean, there's people
Flint's
who
a
said I
predominant
should know
pretty
about
case.
big
the
thing.
Cowboys, and I'm kind of like, why
We're
should I
kind
know
of
about
like being
that?
talking about Katrina.
Yeah, I know about Katrina, but I don't know any
Right.
details about it.
Flint,
I know what
Michigan
happened
would
in New
kind of be
Orleans.
like it'd kind of be the equivalent of talking about Katrina in terms of its
Okay, so the point
significance,
is
or at
like
least
going
its
back to
impact on society.
sure, but going
Can
to
I
the point
can
of
I make one
the
point?
argument. Yeah, sorry.
You, you said something that I found very interesting because I've heard this in the white supremacist circles in the past about how America can't be racist because look at the Asian population and the Indian population within our country. They're doing well. The household income, you're right. The household income for those two demographics are higher. But you have to ask yourself why. Why are they higher? It's
I don't
because
know.
those demographics specifically live in households generationally. They have two, three generations within one household, and all of those incomes count as a household income.
It's
Well,
also
some
not
of
fair
them
to say that
do, but
because there are wealthy Asians, somehow Asian hate perpetuated by Republicans doesn't exist. Somehow
no,
there
it
aren't
doesn't. It
gross
mostly comes from
biases and
Democrats.
stereotypes supported
It
by.
mostly comes from Democrats,
How
actually.
do you
And
quantify that?
I
You're
know
saying
this
that Kung
I
Flu
know
came
for
from
this for sure
Democrats?
because I was part of the whole Stop Asian Hate thing during the time of
So then
COVID.
how did most of it come from Democrats?
Uh, I'd rather not get into this because
No, get into that, please.
no, because I want to
You
talk
made
about
the
the topic
claim. Let's
more.
get into that because Kung Flu was Trump's doing.
And actually,
Trump basically
the whole
blaming
like
people
China
from
virus thing
Asia.
came from Taiwanese people. In
That
fact,
came from Trump. Okay,
it
then who
came, no,
perpetuated it? Did
hold
Republicans
on one second.
perpetuate it or did
If
Democrats?
the Taiwanese people perpetuated, they didn't really like not Kung Flu specifically, but the
Based in
China virus.
America, who pushed
China
that?
virus was a Taiwanese term.
Who pushed that propaganda in
Hold on
America?
once. I want you to
No,
settle
no,
on
because
that
it is
because
still
it
a
doesn't fit
slur.
within
Wait,
your
Tony, hold
narrative of
on,
white
hold on, hold on, hold on,
supremacy.
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on,
Settle
hold on. Tony,
settle on
Tony,
that
How
Tony,
does
fact.
it
Tony,
not?
wait,
Let's
Tony,
settle on
Tony,
that.
Tony. The
It doesn't.
originating Tony, the origination of it doesn't matter. Who was it like? That doesn't matter. That it doesn't matter at all, right? If someone says something off in a random country somewhere and it never makes its way to America, we don't have this conversation about
It
it.
does
There's a
make its way.
reason that it's in the American public discourse, and the question is, why is it in the American public discourse? Who put it there?
What? Why is it in the American public discourse of what the term China virus?
Who promoted
Yes.
it? Yes, who promoted
You're
it?
tracking now.
Yeah, the Taiwanese. Trump said it. A bunch of the Taiwanese community say it. And China, two
But it was it
Taiwanese American
Republicans or
people. It was
Democrats?
I think you're being
Was it
purposely
Republicans or
obtuse.
Democrats that promoted
yeah,
it?
are you ignoring the fact that the
Purposefully
Taiwanese
obtuse.
say it? They purposely have said it. Why is
No,
that?
no. That's actually a straw man.
You
Nope,
don't think the
that's actually a
Taiwanese
straw
have
man.
said that?
Do you
I
think
have never
Taiwanese
said
people
anything that's a
have
straw
more
man.
influence?
Wait,
Do you
hold
think
on,
What's
hold
that?
on.
Taiwanese
That's a
people
What
have
straw
I'm
more
man.
saying
influence
is
on the
basically
Republican Party?
that's basically kind of going against what James tried to say here.
You keep saying that and you're not enumerating how.
Enumerating
You
how?
know,
What do you mean how now? By
saying
using the
it goes
words?
against your argument
Are you
by
forgetting
not
what using
explaining
words
how
are
it
like?
does. What?
Like by
Okay,
using their
I'm gonna
words?
You
calm this down for a
literally said you
second.
wouldn't
Tony,
answer my question.
okay, hold on.
I just got muted. What was the
Tony,
question?
the question here is why it is in American public discourse. We're not asking a question about etymology and where it began, which I don't know.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah, Jesus.
asking you about who promoted it in the United States, because your argument had to do not with where it was created, but who promoted it. The
A
problem
lot of people
is,
promoted
right
it.
now, no,
One of
that's
them
not
being
the
Trump.
question. It was it
One of
Republican?
them being
Find
Trump.
cool. Find me a Democrat that promoted it. Find me a Democratic politician that promoted it.
I don't know any. I don't know.
Okay,
You want
find
me
one.
to like, search it?
Yep.
It's. I'm okay. I'm not going to. What if Trump is the only one?
Okay, if you were so comfortable
He's
in your
laughing because
position
I'm
on
not
this
doing his monkey
argument,
work for you.
stop
I'm not
talking.
doing your monkey
If you
work
were
for you, and you're
so
laughing at me, bro.
what?
That's so funny. Like he's like, go search for it. I'm not doing his monkey work for him.
I'm not
Is
asking
monkey
you
work?
anything.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead, Jaden.
You've been spending too many times on racist Reddit, bud. You gotta chill. Your
Oh,
argument
yeah.
was that
Is that even
Democrats
you?
promoted
That's
it.
rich coming from you, bro.
Your
How?
argument.
We
You're
haven't said
telling me,
anything
bro.
racist.
What did
You're-
I even say?
This is getting unproductive.
The original conversation is a MAGA is a fascist movement. I don't know actually how we ended up talking about etymology and stuff, right?
You
And-
did. We didn't do that. That wasn't us. We didn't do that. We didn't bring it to etymology. You did.
To it.
You did.
someone
That wasn't
asked-
us.
Wasn't Jaden asking me, where does kung fu? Who said the word kung fu?
He was
I'm like,
asking
what
you
do
who promoted it in the United States. He kept trying to clarify,
said
and you
he
kept
said
talking
that.
about Taiwan.
Yeah, what was I saying about Taiwan?
I don't know. We
What
never.
relevance
We didn't
would it be?
ask.
Well.
The question was who perpetuated it in America.
He said it, and it was perpetuated amongst the Taiwanese community.
You argued that Democrats were the ones that perpetuated
I'm
anti-Asian
talking
hate
about
crimes.
anti-Asian hate, and I'm not going to
Right. That was
because
rhetoric that circulated around that spike in
That-
2020, during which we saw a greater degree of Asian hate
let's
crimes.
just,
Did
let's
we
just
not?
say that there are a ton of attacks from Asians from
But you
non
said from
people, and
Democrats.
Democrats decided to turn their blind eye on it because they weren't.
How did
woke.
they turn their blind eye?
They
This is
definitely
another
did.
claim that
I
you've
am
yet to
very
back up.
involved in this. I don't want to get off topic here. I was
If
very
you're
Stay
very
on this.
involved in this, then answer simple questions about who was responsible for perpetuating it and how
That
the Democrats
wasn't what
did
he
it.
was asking for.
Yes,
He
it
was
was,
Yes, it
dude.
was.
You were
Listen,
saying
man,
I was
Tony.
saying
All right,
that-
you're being purposefully obtuse and disingenuous, and I'm not gonna continue the
He was
conversation.
talking about why Democrats. How are Democrats perpetuating the Asian?
He
hate?
asked you to quantify that, yes, and you have yet to do
To
that
quantify that. How do you quantify Trump doing it?
by him
You want-
saying it. I can
Him
count the amount of
saying it.
times he
What the
said
fuck?
it. I can
That's
give you
not
the
the
amount of
spikes
times
of
he said it.
anti-hate crime that
Here, I'll
happened.
quantify
That's
it
not a
really quick.
quantification.
How many times did Trump blame China for
The
COVID?
virus. So wait, hold on a second. He blamed China versus what? Race.
He used anti-Asian rhetoric
So,
surrounding the virus.
You do know that
broadly
China is
and
not all,
openly.
that China is not all of Asia. You do know that. Right?
We know that.
Well, I just want to make it sure that you do.
We
Were they
know
talking
that.
about
You know
a different?
that China is
Does
not
Trump
Taiwan,
know that?
right?
All
So
right,
why?
I'm done. That derailed insanely. So we're gonna move on from that.